Roll for Crit here today with a review of And Then We Held Hands, a game published by Luda Creations, designed by David Cherkop and Yannick Massa. And this is a game that you might want to play around the Valentine's Day season because it's about a relationship and building communication skills with one other person in particular. Could be a significant other, could be a friend, could be someone you picked up off the street you never met before.
Of course, there is one hitch. You're not allowed to communicate.
Yeah, that's right. It really makes the communicating part tough. So basically, it's a very simple kind of a game. Abstract yet thematic in a sense. You're trying to come to terms with each other's emotions. And the way that you do that is each of you has a little piece here, a little token, that you're going to be moving around these nodes on the board. And you do that by using these cards that you have at your disposal based on their color. So if I wanted to move to this black node, I would get rid of this black card. I can also use my my partner's cards if I want. Either pile is free to use, but you got to keep in mind what cards they might need later on, because if you're not able to make a move, meaning if I'm here and there's no black or green cards available, I'm stuck there and there's no way we lose the game. You're also not going to be able to move into these inner rings until later on. Eventually you will.
Yes, each node is supposed to represent a color, or the basic feelings, whereas black is sadness, red is anger, green is happiness, and blue is calm. Contentness. The other cards will have actually two different sides, because whether you are on the left side of the circle or the right side, you will actually shift to the other side of the cards.
Yeah.
And each cards are more advanced, like ambivalence will have a sadness and a happiness, depending on which side. Some of them will be the same on both sides, like depression.
So, depending on, you only get to see half of the card at a time. And also, if you're on the center space, you get to decide which half you want to be showing. So, there's some strategy in knowing which colors do I want and which ones are available to me. So that's interesting. Basically, the actual goal of the game is you have these three objective piles. And one at a time, you're going to flip one over. And whatever color that is, you're going to want to end on a space of that color, either person of your team. If you do that, you complete it, you put it away, and you draw a new one. And eventually you win by getting through all three cards, and then both of you have to meet in the center.
Right. If you clear the first pile, you can start entering the second ring. Clear the second pile, enter the third ring. And once you clear the third pile, you can both enter the center. However, there's one other aspect, your balance. Every time you take a positive emotion movement, blue or green, you go up one. Negative of the red and black, you go down one. You cannot go over two, so you can't constantly go negative. Also, if you end on 0, you actually get to refill your hand. So there's a lot about trying to keep balance within your emotional state.
Yeah, you're always thinking about, you really want to make sure that you have enough cards to pull from for the future, because if you're just going, let me just go black, red, and the next turn you don't have anywhere to go that's positive, you're done for, or you use the cards that your friend needed, et cetera, et cetera.
In addition, because you both use your hands together, by refilling your own, you're helping your partner by making sure they keep moves. There are also harder modes where there can be arguments. Some cards will have little bars on them, such as this. If you get one like that, you both have to end up on the same node. This is actually the only time you can be on the same node or pass over each other. So for example, this is a sadness with a bar. We would have to reach a black point, such as that, if I went to first. And once you get there, you've completed it, and you get to choose whether to stop here or here, and then continue the game. You can choose your difficulty by allowing what bars, because there's a small, medium, and large. The more you include, the harder it is.
And it is definitely a challenging game. It's a quick game to play through. Whether you win or lose, it's pretty simple and it doesn't take very long. But if you do decide to go through with all those bars and you have to settle them as arguments, it is tough, as we discovered for ourselves.
In addition, we sort of said in the beginning, but I think it really needs to be hammered down. There is no talking strategy. You cannot point, you cannot make suggestions, which becomes really challenging, because you'll be like, oh, I'll move here and here, and this way I'll be a little bit negative, but next turn I can go positive as long as he doesn't use my blue. And you might not see that and be like, oh, I'm just going to go over there and use the blue.
Yeah, it's a lot. Reminds me a lot of a game like Hanabi, where you really badly want to be able to say something to the other person, but you can't. So you're trying really hard. You don't like psychically send them messages, and of course that's what makes the game so interesting. Because I think if you could just talk, then there wouldn't, you would solve it. Yeah. But the fact that you have to really. It really fits in very well with the theme. Like I said, even though it's an abstract kind of game, you do very much have to pay attention to the other person's situation and know what they're doing.
Well, not only that, you have to understand how they think. Because something like the situation I made, which is like, oh, we had some of these moments, of course. So I'd be like, oh, that's obvious. I'm just going to do there. He'll do this move. And they might not see that. And what might seem really obvious to you, especially when you have arguments.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Those arguments are rough.
We did lose a couple times. We're not an in-sync couple.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of times, actually. I think we've managed to beat it at least once, twice, maybe.
I think actually we have a 50% ratio right now.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds kind of terrible. Also, the game has art by Marie Cardot. I don't know how you say French. I only took it for like 6 years. But that is the artist behind games like Dixit. So you'll recognize some of that style that you see here, which is gorgeous and very accurately, in sort of a fun, abstract way, represents these different emotions like betrayed or resigned or manic. In fact, I think it's kind of a shame that for so much of the game, those cards are covered up. You really can't look at that art. It's kind of a bummer. But when it's there, it is nice. It does add to it certainly makes the game, because if you're just looking at the board, it's very nice and simple and zen looking, but it is a little plain. The art kind of brings the whole package together, I think.
Yeah, it is nice. We should say that the challenge cards, I think they're called, do all have, just because something is calm, they're much different calm, which is sort of nice. You don't see the same.
So there's not a lot of cards in the game, but yeah, there is a variety among those cards, which is nice. You also lose if you run the deck out and you don't have any cards to play. I mean, I guess that's pretty obvious.
But you will refresh the deck every time you clear one of these decks, so it's not too difficult. So it means that you can't just stay on the outer ring. You have to get to the next level of your relationship sooner or later.
Yeah, there is sort of a time limit. You have to be conservative in that way. That's really the name of the game, I think. What we found was that in order to win, you had to play it safe most of the time. This is a really nice game. I really like it. And I think it's special in the sense of what we're talking about, how it does, in a funny way, really kind of teach you about a relationship. It's you can just treat it like a simple abstract game, but it's not, the theme isn't there in the way that like a game like Arkham Horror is or something, where you read a flavor text. The theme is there in what you're actually doing.
I'm actually excited for and then we held Tentacles, the Cthulhu version of this game.
If only they would come out with that. It's called ... and then we held hands. I don't know what comes before the ... We hung out for a while and then we held hands. Yeah, I don't know what. I've never gotten to that stage. If you have any insight, please let us know. It'll really help.
Yeah. This also could be a fun game if you know someone in your group who's a very heavy alpha gamer because they can't talk.
Yeah, no, you really have to cooperate. You gotta know the other person well, or try to intuit what they're going to do. Crits and misses for And Then We Held Hands. For crits, we love the artwork on the cards as well as the design of the board itself. It's very minimalist, kind of has a Zen garden feel to it.
The art on the cards do really bring these interesting images for some of the most basic and complex emotions, while also actually making different images for some of them. So it's not the same calm image every time.
The fact that you have to remain silent throughout the game forces you into a very unique and interesting way of communicating.
Yeah, it makes it so you're not just playing two solo games. You actually really need to pay attention to each other, which we do enjoy. In other games we've seen pull this mechanic.
And the theme is married perfectly to the mechanics themselves. You really do kind of get the sense of building a relationship through the gameplay itself.
At the very least, you have to actually try to understand your partner and not just tell them what to do. Now, some of the misses that we see in this game is, with all this beautiful art, half the time they're covered up.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame that you don't get to really enjoy that as you play.
Another big thing is some of the challenging modes can feel like they can end the game before it really begins.
There's a bit of randomness that can occur if you're using those arguments into the game, where, yeah, if you get a bad start, you might just be done for early on.
Though we did joke that if your relationship is having arguments right in the beginning, maybe it should end really fast.
Yeah, it could be a sign.
And there's a review of And Then We Held Hands. Got to remember the ...
That's important.
Let us know if you had a chance to play it and what did you think of it. Did you play it with just the friends, or did you actually try it with a partner, and if that made a difference or not? How in sync were you?
Yeah, did it cause a breakup, a divorce? Or
maybe those early arguments?
I don't know. Maybe it brought you closer together. In the meantime, we'll be playing I'm going to continue to try the solo mode of And Then We Held Hands, which is in many ways easier, but not as much fun.
You only play with the sadness cards.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been Roll for Crit. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments below.
Oh yeah!